Ready to go deep on relationships. I am. You sent me a ton of research on communication strategies for couples, and I'm excited to get into it with you.
Awesome.
We've got research and notes all about communication techniques to help couples build stronger bonds.
Right.
We'll be diving into all sorts of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Active listening, how to manage those tech distractions, all that.
Yeah, this is a fascinating set of research, really.
What's got you so interested?
It gets down to the nitty-gritty of how we interact as couples.
How cool.
It's not just, surface-level advice. It gets into the psychology behind a good communication.
Right.
The why behind the how.
Okay, so let's kick things off with something we all know is super important, right?
Uh-huh.
But can be tough to put into practice.
Yeah.
Open and honest communication.
Absolutely.
Imagine a relationship where you feel completely comfortable.
Totally.
Expressing your wants, needs, hopes, fears, everything.
Yeah.
No holding back.
Right.
That's the foundation we're talking about building here.
And the research really shows how that open communication, that honesty,
Right.
it's not just about avoiding arguments or complaining even.
Yeah.
It goes so much deeper,
Right.
It helps couples build intimacy.
Okay.
There was one study that found couples that share their inner world with each other regularly.
Yeah.
They report way higher relationship satisfaction.
Oh, wow.
And they're way more likely to stay together over time.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's like they're building a bridge,
Yeah.
of trust and understanding, like brick by brick through each honest conversation.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we want to communicate openly.
Right.
But we all fall into those communication traps sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you're nodding along,
Uh-huh.
but you're really thinking about what's for dinner.
Right. Or what's on TV later.
Or letting our own assumptions get in the way of what our partner's really trying to say.
Yeah, we've all done that.
I've been there.
Yeah.
So that's where active listening comes in, right?
Active listening is crucial. It can change the whole game. Totally. It's about being truly present in the conversation.
Right.
Not just hearing the words, but really absorbing what your partner is saying and how they feel about it.
Totally.
There's actually this really cool study that shows when couples practice active listening, it changes their brain chemistry.
Whoa, hold on.
Really, it activates the empathy centers of the brain.
Wow.
And it releases oxytocin, the love hormone.
So trying to understand your partner better actually makes you feel more connected to them, like biologically.
That's what the research says.
I'm sold. How do we get better at active listening? Any specific techniques?
Definitely. There's some really great techniques, and one that really stood out from the research is called reflecting.
Reflecting, okay.
So it's kind of like holding up a mirror, right, to your partner's words and their emotions.
Okay.
So let's say they say, I'm feeling so overwhelmed with work these days.
Right.
You might respond with, so you're feeling really stressed about that deadline. It shows you're not just hearing them, you're getting their emotional state, too.
So it's not about offering solutions right away.
Not at all.
Or jumping in with advice.
Yep.
Just reflecting back to make sure you're both on the same page.
Exactly. And that can make such a difference in how your partner feels, heard, and understood.
Totally.
It helps them feel validated and safe, and that can lead to them opening up even more.
Yeah, like you're saying, I see you, I hear you, I get you, without actually saying it.
Powerful, right?
So powerful.
Yeah.
What other active listening techniques are out there?
Another key one is validating.
Validating, okay.
Now, this doesn't mean you agree with everything your partner's saying, but it means acknowledging their perspective and their feelings.
Right.
Even if you see things differently, you can still validate their experience.
How would you do that?
You could say something like, I understand why you feel that way, given what happened last time.
Like, hey, your feelings are totally valid even if we see things differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Which goes back to that feeling of respect and safety we talked about.
Right. Active listening builds that foundation.
Love it. Okay, thinking about something that always seems to come up in relationships.
What's that?
Verbal versus nonverbal communication. It's like that saying, it's not what you say, but how you say it.
Right.
Turns out they both matter a lot in relationships.
A warm smile, open posture, genuine eye contact. Those can speak volumes even without saying a word.
They really can.
They show openness, interest, connection.
Right.
And then you've got the opposite, like crossed arms, furrowed brow, avoiding eye contact.
Yeah.
Even if your words are saying one thing, your body language might be telling a different story.
Like mixed signals.
Totally. And the research shows being mindful of that nonverbal communication can make a huge difference.
in how our message is received.
Absolutely. And how connected you feel to your partner.
It's like our bodies are sending out these little cues. They can either support or totally undermine what we're trying to say.
Yeah. I worked with a couple once who were constantly fighting.
Really?
They just weren't paying attention to each other's nonverbals.
Interesting.
The wife felt like her husband wasn't listening
Uh-huh.
because he would often look away when she was talking,
Oh, wow.
even though he was trying to focus on her words.
Okay.
Once they realized this was happening, they started making eye contact more intentionally. Their communication got way better, almost instantly.
Those little things, huh?
They can have a big impact.
All right, so we've talked about open communication, active listening.
Yeah.
Now let's get to that sweet spot between expressing ourselves authentically and, doing it in a way that strengthens the relationship.
I see what you mean.
Assertive communication is something that comes up a lot of the research.
Right. Assertive communication.
It sounds like standing up for yourself,
Yes.
but in a way that doesn't create conflict.
That's a great way to put it.
What are your thoughts?
It's about advocating for your needs, expressing yourself clearly, respectfully.
Right.
Not being aggressive or passive.
Okay.
It's finding that middle ground.
The balance.
Exactly. Being true to yourself while also being considerate of your partner.
I love that.
It's not about winning or losing. It's about finding a solution that works for both of you.
Win-win.
Exactly. A win-win.
So it's not about being a pushover,
Right.
but it's also not about, bulldozing over your partner.
Yeah, it's about that balance between your needs and theirs.
So interesting.
And the research actually shows assertive communication isn't just good for the relationship.
Oh.
It's good for you, too.
What do you mean?
It's linked to less stress, lower anxiety, less depression even.
Really?
And a boost in self-esteem.
Okay, I'm all ears.
When you feel confident expressing yourself,
Yeah.
it empowers you in all areas of your life.
That's so cool.
Really is.
So how can we practice assertive communication
Great question.
in a way that feels, natural and effective?
Well, statements are really effective.
Like statements.
Yeah, it's a way of expressing how you feel, what you need, without blaming or attacking your partner.
Right.
So instead of saying, you always leave your clothes on the floor.
Which can make your partner defensive.
Exactly. You could say, I feel frustrated when I see clothes on the floor because it makes me feel like our shared space isn't respected.
I see.
So it's shifting from blame to expressing your own feelings and needs.
Owning your experience instead of pointing the finger.
You got it.
Which opens the door for a better conversation.
Absolutely. Your partner's more likely to understand where you're coming from.
And be willing to find a solution together.
Exactly. And speaking of finding solutions together, let's talk about conflict.
Oh. The C word.
It's inevitable in any relationship.
Right. No two people agree on everything all the time.
And the research shows that conflict, when handled well,
Yeah.
can actually be a chance to grow closer and understand each other better.
Really. Conflict can be a good thing. I always thought it was something to avoid.
Well, one researcher used a great analogy.
Okay, I love analogies.
She said couples who avoid conflict are like ships passing in the night.
Oh, interesting.
They might seem peaceful on the surface, but they're not connecting deeply.
I get it.
Conflict, when you approach it constructively, can be a way to steer those ships towards each other.
And create a closer, more fulfilling relationship.
Exactly.
So how do we shift from a battleground to a brainstorming session?
The research suggests a technique called the couples dialogue.
Couples dialogue.
It's a structured communication approach.
Tell me more.
It encourages empathy, understanding, problem solving.
Those are all good things.
It is. Imagine a disagreement where you actually feel heard and understood,
That sounds amazing.
even if you don't see eye to eye.
Wow.
It's like having a roadmap to resolution.
I'm all about roadmaps. Guide me.
So there are 3 parts: mirroring, validating, and empathizing.
I think we've touched on mirroring and validating.
We have, but let's see how they apply to conflict resolution.
Okay.
In the middle of an argument, things can get heated. It's easy to misunderstand.
Totally.
Mirroring makes sure you're on the same page.
Right.
It's about reflecting back what your partner's saying, both with your words and your body language.
So I hear you saying you feel frustrated because I didn't take out the trash like I promised. Is that right?
Perfect example. It's about checking in, making sure you're understanding them correctly.
Without adding your own interpretation or judgment.
Right.
And then validating comes in to acknowledge those feelings.
Yes. Validating doesn't mean you agree, but it means acknowledging their feelings makes sense.
Given their experience, right?
Yes. You could say, I can see why you'd feel upset about that. It's important to you that we keep our agreements, and I let you down this time.
That's a good one.
And then the third part is empathizing.
Okay. Empathizing.
Here, you take it a step further than just acknowledging feelings.
Right.
You try to connect on an emotional level.
Got it.
Imagine stepping into your partner's shoes and seeing the situation from their perspective.
So going back to that trash example.
Yeah.
You might say something like, I can imagine how disappointing it is to feel like you can't rely on me to follow through. I care about our shared space, and I want you to feel comfortable and respected here.
Wow, that's a great example. When you empathize with your partner, it creates connection.
Even when you're disagreeing.
Exactly.
I'm loving this. This couple's dialogue could totally change how my partner and I handle disagreements.
Right.
It's not about winning or losing.
It's about working together.
Exactly.
It's about remembering you're on the same team, even when you see things differently.
Okay, so we've talked about open communication, active listening, assertive communication, and this couple's dialogue tool.
Lots of good stuff.
What other communication goal did you find in the research?
Well, one thing that stood out was shared activities, gratitude, and managing technology.
Interesting.
Might seem like small things,
Yeah.
but they can make a big impact.
I'm all about those little things. Tell me more.
Well, think about the last time you did something fun with your partner. Could be a hike, a new restaurant, a board game, anything.
Yeah,
Did it make you feel closer?
I think so.
Shared experiences create memories and strengthen your bond.
Makes sense.
One study found couples who try new and exciting things together.
Yeah.
They tend to be more satisfied and more passionate in their relationship.
It's like those experiences glue you together.
Totally. And then there's gratitude.
What about it?
When you express appreciation for your partner, it creates a positive atmosphere.
It's easy to forget to do that, yeah?
It is. It's easy to take each other for granted in the daily grind.
Totally.
But those small acts of gratitude can really nurture your connection.
Like saying thank you for making dinner.
Exactly. Or giving a heartfelt compliment, acknowledging their effort, even small things.
Like noticing they unloaded the dishwasher.
Even that. It shows you care.
It's an antidote to that taking each other for granted thing.
It really is.
Okay, so shared activities, gratitude. What was the last one?
Ah, yes, the elephant in the room.
Oh, no. What's that?
Technology. Uh-oh. It's so easy to get caught up in our devices these days. So easy. And it can really interfere with quality time with our partners.
I'm so guilty of that. I catch myself scrolling on my phone when my partner is trying to talk to me.
It's a common struggle, honestly.
I'm working on it.
The key is being mindful, making conscious choices about when to unplug and connect.
Right, put the phone away.
It could mean no phones at dinner, no screens in the bedroom, or even just scheduling some tech-free time together.
I like that. A digital detox date.
One study found that couples who do regular digital detox dates,
Yeah.
they feel way more connected and satisfied.
So it's about creating those spaces where you can really be present with each other.
Without the distractions.
Without those digital distractions.
Exactly. Prioritizing your relationship and making sure tech serves you, not the other way around.
Wow, this has been an amazing deep dive so far. We've covered so much.
We have open communication, active listening, assertive communication, even how to manage technology.
My brain is full.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
There's so much more to unpack when it comes to relationships and how to make them thrive.
I know, right? I'm excited to keep going.
Me too. Let's take a quick break and come back for more relationship insights.
Sounds good to me. It's interesting, we've talked a lot about these practical communication strategies.
Right?
But one of the sources goes even deeper.
Ooh, deeper. I like it.
It talks about emotional intimacy.
Okay, so we've covered the nuts and bolts of communication.
Right.
Now we're getting into the heart of connection.
Exactly. It's about creating a space where you and your partner can both be vulnerable and share those deep thoughts and feelings.
Right.
The stuff you might not share with anyone else.
Makes sense. It's like taking off the masks we wear for the outside world
Oh, I love that.
and letting your partner see the real you.
The real you, flaws and all.
Exactly.
It's about being seen and known, even those parts you might not be proud of.
That's tough.
Yeah.
And being able to receive your partner with that same openness.
Absolutely. That's key.
I can see how that would create a deeper intimacy,
It does.
but it's also a bit scary, to be honest.
It is. It takes courage.
Opening yourself up that much can be really hard.
You know Dr. Brene Brown?
Oh, yeah, I love her work.
She's a researcher on vulnerability.
Right.
She says vulnerability is where it all begins,
Where it all begins.
Love, belonging, joy, even courage, empathy, creativity.
Wow.
It's like the glue that holds relationships together.
So powerful.
It is. When you both feel safe to be emotionally open.
Right.
It just takes your connection to a whole new level.
So it's about feeling safe to share those fears and insecurities,
Yes.
but also the joys and dreams too, right?
Exactly. It's about creating a space to be your full selves.
I love that.
The light and the shadow.
With that acceptance,
Knowing you'll be met with love no matter what.
okay, I'm sold. How do we cultivate that kind of emotional intimacy?
Well, it's definitely a process, and it takes commitment from both partners.
It's a two-way street.
It is. One study suggests starting small.
Small steps.
Doesn't have to be a big, sit-down, heavy conversation.
Right,
It could
yeah.
be cuddling on the couch, talking about your day,
Oh,
or going for a walk and sharing what's on your mind.
just those little moments of connection.
Exactly. But then there are those deeper, more vulnerable conversations.
Right. How do we get to those?
One technique therapists often recommend is called gradual self-disclosure.
Gradual self-disclosure.
Interesting. It's like dipping your toes in the pool before jumping in.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Start by sharing something small, something that feels safe.
Right.
As you build trust and intimacy, you can gradually share more.
Like those vulnerable parts of yourself?
Things like a past hurt or a fear you're struggling with,
Yeah.
or even a dream you're hesitant to share.
It takes courage to do that.
It does, but it can lead to such a deeper connection.
It's like those conversations are the threads that create the fabric of intimacy.
Beautifully said. And remember, emotional intimacy isn't all serious.
Hey, good.
It's also about celebrating your joys together,
Right.
sharing your passions, being each other's biggest cheerleader.
Totally. It's about creating a space where you can both just be yourself.
Fully and authentically.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is making me think about expectations.
Oh, expectations. Yeah.
We all have them in relationships.
Yes, we do.
But sometimes those expectations can cause conflict.
Especially if they're not communicated.
So just floating around unspoken.
Exactly. It's a recipe for disaster.
Totally. Like we think our partner should just know what we need.
Without telling them.
And then we get hurt or disappointed when they don't magically meet those unspoken needs,
It's like expecting them to read your mind.
which is impossible.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid that expectation trap?
Well, the research suggests awareness and communication.
Okay, break that down for me.
First, become aware of your own expectations.
Take a look inward
Exactly. Ask yourself, what do I expect from my partner?
in terms of communication, affection, support, all that.
All of that, shared responsibilities, everything.
What are my non-negotiables?
Yeah, what are you willing to compromise on?
It's like doing an inventory of your needs before bringing them to the table.
I like that analogy. And once you've identified those expectations,
Then what?
communicate them to your partner.
Openly and honestly.
No more hinting or hoping they'll figure it out.
Right, no mind games.
No mind games, just clear, direct communication.
I can do that.
And remember, it goes both ways.
Right, their expectations too.
Listen to what they expect from you.
And be willing to compromise.
Absolutely. It's about finding solutions that work for both of you.
It's teamwork.
It is. And expectations can change over time, too.
Oh, that's a good point.
What worked in the beginning might not work 5 years down the road.
You're right.
You've got to check in with each other, adjust as needed.
Life throws curveballs.
It does. Your relationship needs to be flexible.
Makes sense. So keep those communication channels open.
Be adaptable.
Got it. This is so valuable. Just addressing those unspoken expectations could prevent so much heartache.
It could. It's proactive relationship maintenance.
Instead of waiting for things to explode.
Exactly. It's about building a relationship that truly reflects what you both want.
Okay, wow, we've covered a lot.
We have open communication, active listening.
Assertive communication, managing expectations, emotional intimacy.
It's a lot.
I feel like we're building a solid foundation for healthy communication.
I think so too. Any other big takeaways from the research?
Anything we should touch on before we wrap up?
Well, forgiveness came up a lot.
Oh, forgiveness. That's a big one.
It is.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Definitely.
Why do you think the research emphasized forgiveness so much?
Well, no relationship is perfect, right?
Of course not.
We're all human. We make mistakes.
We mess up. We hurt each other.
It's part of being in a relationship.
Right. We're not always going to get it right.
And when those hurts happen, forgiveness is what brings you back together.
It's the bridge.
Exactly. Holding on to anger, resentment, that just creates distance.
It's like a wall between you.
It blocks the flow of love and intimacy.
You're carrying around this heavy weight that drags the whole relationship down.
That's a great way to put it.
So it's not about saying it's okay or forgetting what happened.
No, not at all.
It's about letting go of those negative emotions that are holding you back.
And holding the relationship back.
So it's a choice, really, a conscious choice to heal.
It is, and it's a gift you give yourself as much as you give your partner.
I like that.
Research shows forgiveness is good for you mentally and physically.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Less stress, lower blood pressure, even a stronger immune system.
Okay, now I'm really interested.
And in relationships, forgiveness leads to reconciliation, reconnection, intimacy.
So how do we actually practice forgiveness when it's hard?
One study outlined a 4-step process.
Okay, I'm listening.
First step is acknowledging the hurt
Right.
and letting yourself feel those emotions.
Don't bottle them up.
Don't suppress them. Give yourself space to process.
Journaling, talking to a friend, all that.
Exactly. Honor those emotions, let them breathe, and eventually they'll start to dissipate.
Like letting the air out of a balloon.
That's a good one. And then try to shift your perspective a little.
How would you do that?
Try to see the situation from your partner's side.
Even if you don't agree with what they did,
Right. It doesn't mean excusing their behavior.
but trying to understand it.
Exactly. You start to see them as a flawed human being who made a mistake.
Instead of a villain who intentionally hurt you.
It's a powerful shift.
It is. It humanizes them.
Reminds you we all struggle, we all mess up sometimes.
And then you start to cultivate compassion.
For your partner and for yourself.
That's important.
Recognize you're both doing your best. Mistakes are inevitable.
They're all learning as we go.
Exactly. And finally, you make the choice to let go of the resentment.
That was the hard part.
It can be. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened.
But choosing to release those negative emotions.
You're freeing yourself from that baggage so you can move forward.
Wow, forgiveness is a journey,
It really is.
not a destination.
And it's worth taking for the sake of the relationship.
For a stronger, more resilient bond.
You know, as we talk about forgiveness and resilience, the research highlights understanding each other's point of view.
Yeah, it's hard to forgive if you don't even understand where your partner's coming from.
Exactly. It's like speaking different languages.
You can't communicate if you're not even on the same wavelength.
And it's more than just active listening. It's actively trying to understand.
Okay, what do you mean?
Their thoughts, feelings, motivations, experiences, all of it.
Even if they're totally different from yours.
Even then, step outside your own bubble.
See the world through their eyes.
It can be challenging, but it creates so much empathy and understanding.
Like putting on a new pair of glasses.
And get this, research shows that making an effort to understand your partner, it can actually change your brain chemistry.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
It activates those empathy centers in the brain.
Wow.
And it releases oxytocin.
The love hormone again.
Yeah.
So understanding your partner makes you feel closer to them biologically.
That's right. Our brains are wired for connection, for empathy.
It's amazing.
It is. And that increased empathy makes it easier to work through conflict.
And build a stronger, more resilient relationship.
Exactly. Like the saying, seek first to understand, then to be understood.
So true. And understanding doesn't always mean agreeing, right?
Right. You can validate their feelings, acknowledge their perspective.
Even if you see things differently.
Exactly. It's about respecting their experience.
And that creates safety and trust.
It does, which allows you both to be more open and vulnerable.
It's like a safe haven where you can be yourself.
Without fear of judgment.
Wow, this is all so insightful.
I'm glad you're getting a lot out of it.
I am. I'm seeing communication in a whole new light.
That's great to hear.
It's not just talking and listening. It's creating a space for both of you to be yourselves, to express your needs, to face challenges together and grow closer.
It's a journey, not a destination.
That's true for so many things in life.
And the beautiful thing is, as you learn and grow together,
Yeah.
your communication gets stronger, your connection deepens, your relationship becomes a source of joy.
And support and fulfillment.
All of that. It's a great reminder that relationships take effort.
Right.
Even the strongest ones.
It's not about finding the perfect partner
You know.
or having a fairy tale romance.
It's about showing up every day, putting in the work.
To build a love that lasts.
Exactly. And the research talks about something else that's really important.
Okay, what's that?
Self-respect and self-image.
That seems a little off topic.
It might seem that way, but it's all connected.
How so?
When you have self-respect, you communicate your needs better.
Okay.
You set boundaries. You don't settle for less than you deserve.
It's like you teach people how to treat you.
Exactly. If you don't value yourself, how can you expect others to?
Right.
And on the flip side, if you're struggling with your self-image, it can really mess with your communication.
I see that.
Create conflict where there doesn't need to be.
So how does self-image play into this?
Well, if you have a negative self-image, you might misinterpret what your partner's saying.
Oh, I see.
You might think they're criticizing you, even if they're not.
Or that they don't find you attractive
Y-
or
You're
worthy.
hypersensitive to any little thing.
Like those insecurities become a filter that distorts everything.
It can turn a neutral comment into a personal attack,
Totally.
and that leads to defensiveness, arguments, breakdowns in communication.
It's like building walls instead of bridges.
You got it. So how do we fix those self-image issues?
They don't ruin our relationships.
Right. What does the research say?
I'm all ears.
One study highlighted self-compassion.
Self-compassion, okay?
It's about treating yourself with kindness like you would a good friend.
Right.
Recognize that you're worthy of love, just as you are.
Flaws and all.
Flaws and all. Silence that inner critic. Replace it with love and acceptance.
Be your own best friend.
Exactly. And as you do that, you'll find it easier to communicate your needs.
Set those boundaries.
You'll be less sensitive, more resilient.
It's like that inner strength shines outward.
It does, and it creates a more positive dynamic in the relationship.
Love that. And working on self-image is an ongoing thing, right?
It is. There will be ups and downs.
But with effort and self-compassion, we can build a better relationship with ourselves.
And that spills over into our romantic relationship.
Makes sense. This has been incredible. I'm so inspired.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
I want to put all these strategies into practice
That's great.
and create a more connected, fulfilling relationship.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There will be times you nail it, times you fall short.
It's all part of the process.
The key is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep communicating with love.
I can do that.
And sometimes, even with the best communication, couples fix challenges that need professional help.
Oh, that's a good point.
It could be deeper issues, or maybe they just need a fresh perspective.
A neutral third party.
There's no shame in seeking help.
I agree.
It shows strength, commitment to your relationship.
Makes sense. What can a therapist offer?
They create a safe space to work through those challenges.
Right.
Help you develop healthier communication patterns.
It's like having a relationship coach.
It is, and sometimes just having someone listen objectively can make a world of difference.
Okay, so seek professional support when needed. Got it.
Now, what about managing frustration?
Oh, frustration. It's a part of life.
It is, and it can be so easy to let it build up and spill over.
Onto your partner.
Exactly. It's like that saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, it's like a pressure cooker.
If you don't let the steam out, it explodes.
And our partner gets burned.
So how do we handle those moments without taking it out on each other?
What does the research suggest?
One study recommends identification and communication.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
First, identify the source of your frustration.
Okay, so figure out what's bugging me.
Right. Is it something your partner did, or is it something external you're bringing into the relationship?
That's a good point. Sometimes we misdirect our frustration.
We do. It's easy to blame our partner when it's really a bad day at work or traffic or whatever.
So once we've identified the source, what's next?
Communication.
Okay, here we go again.
But not just complaining. It's about expressing your feelings constructively.
And focusing on solutions.
Exactly. Those I statements are helpful here.
Right. Owning your feelings instead of blaming.
So instead of saying, you always make us late,
Yeah.
try saying, I'm feeling stressed because we're running behind and it's important to me to be on time. Can we work together to leave earlier next time?
It's about collaboration, working together as a team.
Exactly. And when you communicate effectively, your partner can understand you better.
And help find a solution.
It prevents that frustration from building up into resentment.
And sometimes just expressing those feelings can actually diffuse the frustration.
It can. It's like letting out some of that steam.
From the pressure cooker.
That's it. And once you've communicated, shift your focus to finding a solution.
Brainstorm together.
Compromise. See things from each other's perspective.
Even when it's tough.
Even then, remember, you're on the same team.
This is so helpful.
I'm glad to hear that.
Did you know that couples who manage frustration well tend to have higher relationship satisfaction?
The research shows that they do, and they're more likely to stay together.
It makes sense. Being able to handle those tough moments together strengthens your bond,
It's about weathering the storms together.
instead of letting them sink the ship.
Exactly.
This has been such an amazing conversation.
I've enjoyed it too.
I'm so excited to try these communication strategies in my own relationship.
And remember, it's an ongoing process.
Always learning and growing.
The key is to communicate with love, respect, and a desire to connect.
We've covered so much.
We have active listening, assertive communication.
Managing expectations, forgiveness, conflict resolution. understanding each other's perspectives.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Anything else before we wrap up?
Well, there was one simple but powerful practice that really stood out.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What is it?
Expressing gratitude.
Gratitude. Yeah. I have a feeling that's a big one.
It really is. One study found that couples who regularly show gratitude to each other,
Okay.
they're happier in the relationship, they
Right.
feel more connected, and they're more likely to stay together over time.
So it's not just a nice feeling. It actually makes a difference in how strong and long-lasting the relationship is.
Absolutely. Think about it. When was the last time someone genuinely thanked you for something?
Mm.
Or just appreciated you for being you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
How'd that make you feel?
It makes me feel seen, valued, appreciated.
Right. Like someone noticed your efforts.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Exactly. And that's the kind of positive vibe that gratitude brings to relationships.
It's like the opposite of taking each other for granted.
It is. It's so easy to slip into that.
Totally, with the daily grind and everything.
Exactly. But when you express gratitude for your partner regularly,
Yeah,
it helps you focus on the good stuff.
right.
It reminds you of all the reasons you're together in the first place.
I like that.
It helps you see the best of each other, even when things are tough.
It's like a little ray of sunshine.
It is, but it can be hard to remember to do that sometimes.
It can, especially when life gets crazy.
One researcher had this great idea.
Okay, tell me.
She called it the gratitude jar.
Gratitude jar. I like it already.
Super simple. Get a jar, some slips of paper.
Okay.
Every day, write down one thing you're grateful for about your partner or your relationship.
Okay.
Put it in the jar.
Got it.
At the end of the week or month, whenever you want,
Yeah,
take some time to read through those little notes.
that's so sweet. It's like a collection of all the good things.
It is, and it doesn't have to be anything major.
Right, the little things count.
Exactly. I'm grateful my partner makes me laugh.
Yeah, or I'm grateful we can always count on each other.
Exactly. Those everyday things make a difference.
So gratitude jar, and what else?
Just make it a habit to say thank you more often.
Right.
Give compliments, acknowledge their efforts.
Even for the small stuff.
Even for the small stuff.
It's about making the effort to let them know you see them.
That you appreciate them.
You're grateful for them.
And it's not just about words. Actions can speak louder.
Oh, that's true.
Acts of service, quality time, those can express gratitude, too.
Like making their favorite meal.
Exactly. Or a back rub after a long day.
Or just putting your phone away and giving them your full attention.
Yes. It's about finding those little ways to say, I love you and I appreciate you.
I love that. And the research actually shows that gratitude isn't just good for your relationship.
I know, right?
It's good for you as an individual, too.
It boosts your well-being.
Studies show that people who practice gratitude are happier,
More resilient.
more satisfied with their lives.
It's like this magic potion that benefits both of you.
A win-win.
Exactly. So it's not just about your partner.
It's about you, too.
When you feel good, you bring your best self to the relationship.
Totally. And gratitude is a practice.
It's not something you achieve and then you're done.
You got to keep working at it.
The more you practice, the more natural it becomes.
And the more you both benefit from that appreciation and love.
Exactly. It's like exercising a muscle.
Got to keep it strong.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah,
I keep thinking all these communication strategies are great.
they are.
But what if we look at the relationship itself as a form of communication?
Whoa. Okay, I'm not sure I follow.
Like imagine every interaction you have.
From good morning to a deep talk about the future.
All of it. It's like sending a message.
Oh,
And those messages, over time,
Yeah,
they create a shared language, a way of being together.
that reflects your values, priorities, all that.
Exactly. You're co-creating the story of your relationship.
Through those everyday interactions
That's it. And the quality of your communication.
determines the quality of the story.
Are you telling a story of love and respect?
Or one of conflict and resentment.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
It is. It makes me want to be more mindful of the messages I'm sending.
I'm glad to hear that. And the best part,
What's that?
your relationship story isn't set in stone.
Oh, good.
It's a living thing. You can rewrite it together.
So even if we've made mistakes, it's not too late to change things.
Not at all. Every moment is a chance to start a new chapter.
Oh, I love that.
You can shift the plot, introduce new elements.
So hopeful. So how do we actually rewrite the story? Where do we begin?
Start with awareness. Pay attention to the patterns in your communication.
Okay.
What messages are you sending each other? Through your words, actions, everything.
It's like watching a movie of your relationship.
And asking, is this a romantic comedy or a drama?
Ooh, good analogy. Once you've identified the patterns you want to change,
You start bringing in new elements.
active listening instead of interrupting,
Gratitude instead of criticism.
reaching out instead of withdrawing,
It's about making those conscious choices.
taking responsibility for our part in the story.
And remember, it's a team effort.
Right. Talk to your partner.
What kind of story do you want to create together? What are your dreams for the relationship?
Co-creating a love story.
That reflects your hopes and dreams, one that you'll be proud of.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, as you work on rewriting the story,
You might be surprised by how much love and connection you find along the way.
the journey is just as important as the destination.
This has been such a great deep dive. I'm so inspired.
Me too. Thank you for all these insights.
It's been my pleasure.
Love is a journey, not a destination.
That's so true.
Even the tough chapters can lead to amazing growth.
You know, the best love stories are the ones written with intention, compassion, and heart.
So beautiful.
Go out there and write your own masterpiece.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into communication.
We hope you learned a lot.
We hope you're feeling inspired to build stronger, happier relationships.
Here's to love, connection, and happily ever after.
Until next time.